Welcome, and thank you for joining for another whiskey review. Today, we're going to do a comparison of two 15-year-old sherry whiskeys. The Glenallachie 15 and the Balvenie 15 sherry cask. Dustin, Glenallachie comes in at 46%, the Balvenie at 47.8%. Donated the Glenallachie by our friend Keith at the Malted Man Cave, so thank you, Keith, for this one. We're going to
appreciate you, buddy.
Throw it against this Balvenie 15-year-old single barrel and see what we got here. We're also going out of the Capitas today since they're lower than 50% ABV, and the way the bottles are represented in front of you are the same way they were represented in our glasses, meaning Glenallachie, bang, bang, and Balvenie on our right, your left. Dustin.
Yep. So now, guys, Glenallachie's been getting a lot of hype lately because
Bunch.
Billy Walker, who
Rightfully so.
was at Glendronach, has gone over there. Now, you know, Mike, the one thing I keep coming back to is this. This guy keeps moving around before any of the distillate actually makes it to age. I'm a little interested in seeing if he ever stays long enough to see what the distillate that he's producing comes out to. But these have been super hyped lately. Obviously, Glendronach fame, and I heard something, Mike, they spent something like $100 million recently on barrels.
Glenallachie?
Sherry cask, yeah.
They've been hot on the tongue of a lot of whiskey reviewers, my friend.
Yes. So today we're going to put it against, at least for me, Mike, my personal favorite 15-year-old sherry cask.
Yeah.
You know, you've got the Glendronach 15, which I think's pretty good, a little cheaper than this one, which I think
Tamdu.
helps it. And then they've got the Tamdu, which I wasn't as big a fan as like certain other people were, but I still, in the end of the day, I'm not even going to go there, Mike. I'm not even going to go there. But I was not as big a fan of that one as some other reviewers have been. And I felt like the Tamdu was a little pricey, whereas this, I think, actually comes in at a reasonable price.
All right, so this is what we want to do. We want to take something we knew was quality whiskey. 15-year-old sherry. Quality whiskey, no doubt about that. And we want to compare it to something that has a lot of hype that we want to like.
Yeah.
We want to like it. All right, so let's get into it, Dustin. We got the Capitas out for this, all fancy, almost wore a tie. Let's get into it.
Yeah, and you know what, man? I'll tell you what, the Capita is making a world of difference because I am liking this Glenallachie way more than when I previewed it.
Sherry and dirty sherry.
Yeah, but
it's a bit sulfur.
But it's very raisiny, too.
Oh, definitely raisiny. You're right. A little bit of
Yeah,
rum.
a little bit of rum, brown sugar, rum, raisins. A little sulfur, but not too bad. A little of that pencil shaving stuff, too. But again, not offensive.
Twinge of cedar.
Yes. You know what? More than a twinge.
A little bit of cedar. A little bit of cedar.
Yeah, it's got a little bit of that dirty, I'm going to call it the signatory sherry cask that I don't love, but it's not an offensive amounts of it. It's just, it's enough there where it could be character.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'll give it
It could be complexity. For me, it is a little bit not my thing. What I'm trying to figure out though, Mike.
A bit dirty.
What?
Maybe it's your thing. You like dirty sherry. This feels dirty sherry to me.
Here's what I'm struggling with, Mike. So I don't get the saltiness that comes in some of these really dirty sherries. And mind you, this is a cleaner malt, I assume. But you know what I can't tell you, Mike?
Give it to me.
I can't tell you what Glenallachie's malt tastes like or smells like or anything right now.
Well, it's a sherry whiskey, so it's going to be covered up to some degree. And we don't have a ton of experience with this distillery.
Agree. And now, in fact, honestly, you know the only Glenallachie I think I've had other than this one.
29?
Yeah, the 29-year-old single cask I picked up.
And we weren't fans.
Not impressed, no. We'll get
So we're still waiting, essentially, to be impressed by this distillery.
Yeah.
And again, this is interesting whiskey.
It's dirty. You're right, it's dirty.
It's dirty, interesting 15-year-old whiskey.
Yeah,
All right.
I mean, what again I'm looking for is I want to be able to tell you what the malt is doing here, and I can't.
We got to give it some time.
Yeah.
Again, we've had 3 whiskeys from this distillery. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We haven't had 30. All right, let's go on the Balvenie. The whiskey we know well.
Clean.
Very clean. Nice, rich, fruity, round sherry.
Very fruity.
No off-putting notes.
Honey. So much honey.
Smells older than the Glenallachie.
Much older. Nose, yeah.
Like I would almost, if I was blind in this, you told me this was 15, I would say this is 21-year-old whiskey.
And, you know, there's rumors that some of these Balvenies are older.
I have heard that recently.
And if you look at I think Surge on Whisky, whatever his website is, if you look at the color, guys, there's not a lot left here. It's pretty dark, and there are some of these that are darker than others.
Yeah, and they don't say first fill, so, you know, here's the thing. Balvenie single barrel series with the bourbon ones, a lot of times they were older than what the age statement was. But that was clearly listed on the label.
Yeah, they don't
list it
no
on the label,
disclosure here.
but it wouldn't shock me at all, especially since this is a relatively new bottling for Balvenie, last 4 or 5 years. It wouldn't shock me at all if it was older whiskey. So maybe it's not a super fair comparison, but for the age statement, this was our favorite sherry.
Yeah. And I couldn't tell you what the price point on the 15 is. My
I think
guess
it's
is
around $100, 120.
this is a UK bottling. My guess is we're going to see these at the 100 to 120 range in the States, and these are about 130 these days.
So again, we're still in the Balvenie here. We got a lot of baking spices.
Yes, it's very pleasant spices.
It's not as aggressive of a whiskey as the Glenallachie, even though it's a higher ABV. So it doesn't jump out the glass the way the Glenallachie does.
Yeah.
Even though it's
almost like a
tick
baking
higher.
soda thing going on here too.
More subdued, more well-rounded, richer sherry whiskey comparatively.
Sweeter and richer, whereas this is more assertive, aggressive.
Dirty. It feels less
Dirty.
rounded.
Yeah, I mean, definitely more oak presence coming into the Glenallachie, whereas the Balvenie, it seems a much more refined, sophisticated. It's actually surprising to me when I nose them that the Glenallachie's higher proof.
No, Glenallachie is a lower proof. The Balvenie's higher.
I'm sorry.
Yep.
I would think the Glenallachie's a higher proof,
Yeah,
is what I'm getting at here.
I completely agree with you. The Balvenie smells. Oh, this is far more approachable.
Yeah, the Balvenie's super approachable. The Glenallachie is aggressive, assertive, a little dirty.
No, I'm not saying the Glenallachie is alcohol forward. It's not alcohol forward. It's just the flavors on them become far more. Maybe it's just more pungent, set of flavors.
I get more aroma on the Glenallachie, and usually I expect more
Correct.
aroma to come with more alcohol. Here, not the case.
Yeah, and I'm not getting alcohol bite really from either of them.
No, they're both. If you're not into alcohol bite, these are both going to be perfectly good whiskeys to drink. All right, Mike, I'm going to hop right into this Glenallachie.
Yeah, get a little taste in there. We'll get some water in it. See where we go from there. Yeah, dirty, funky. I mean, more aggressive, but I
Very
prefer
funky.
I prefer the smell neat with the Balvenie.
Very funky, earthy, a lot of oak. There's kind of a nice sort of baking pastry kind of thing going on at the end, where maybe the malt's coming in here. And it's approachable, it's enjoyable, but I'm not getting depth or richness here. It's kind of
The difference with this is the funkiness. Like, if it didn't have the funkiness, I would say it's just kind of weaker sherry. You know what I mean?
yeah. But this, I mean, to me, like this comes off like, and I'm not a big sherry drinker by any stretch, but this is like cooking sherry notes, which is kind of salty, boring, not exciting.
Yeah, the exciting part of this Glenallachie is definitely the funkiness to it, without question.
Nice little funkiness up front, and then the finish again has a nice little bit of baking spice, a little bit of pastry kind of stuff going on. Pleasant malt at the end, but not malt that I don't want a bourbon cask version of this malt from what I'm getting here.
I agree.
But
It needs some sherry coverage.
Yeah, it needs something to play with it, but it's not bad malt. I mean, Macallan to me comes off almost boring on the malt side. Like when you start getting into those lesser sherried and younger ones, like the 15 double cask, not for me, guys.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I figure that's probably the same way with this distillery as well. It probably needs a bit of an overcoat.
Yeah, but then again, I think there's a pleasant malt here. Not bad at all.
Yeah, I'm starting to feel like this Balvenie is very, very different. They're going for different things. It's far more richer, more refined style of whiskey than the Glenallachie.
Yeah, on the taste of the Balvenie, Mike. I mean, we're right back to 20-year-old whiskeys. Very nice. The sherry and the malt are balanced. I get a little bit of oak spice, but I get beautiful honey, richness. The viscosity is beautiful here.
Honey, really nice, well done sherry casks.
Density is way up there.
Nice baking spices on the lanyard. Comes off Christmassy.
Yeah, a little bit, for sure, definitely.
I'll say this. Very similar to the Balvenie 15-year-old single barrel when it was just the bourbon cask. And the sherry, very underrated whiskeys. And I think part of the reason why you underrate them is because of availability. They're available anywhere you go.
Yeah.
It seems like it's one of those whiskeys that's still this day and age for $130 or whatever. It's a somewhat spoiled whiskey. It wouldn't shock me if this Balvenie is at least 18 years old.
Wouldn't shock me at all.
And it's just a perfectly done, traditional, old-style sherry whiskey.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Mike,
You don't need better.
this is really good. I mean, this is really good. I mean, this is like 87, 88 kind of score good, where we don't give that to readily available sub $150 whiskeys.
Yeah, not very often. But I'll say this: really, every Balvenie, other than the 12-year-old single barrel, it's above the 43%. It's at that 47.8. Man, all of them are impressive whiskeys. They really are. We've done a few Balvenies lately.
Yeah, and the 12, that's not our profile as much as.
But if it was your profile, you'd be.
But if it's your profile, like it actually does a really good job of actually, and I actually applaud Balvenie for that 12 because they chose to do honestly a really earthy, funky, kind of weird.
Something off profile for them.
Not just off profile for them, but off profile for the general whiskey consumer.
Agreed.
And I applaud them for doing that, given that they are a big name,
Profit driven,
and also again their brand is about being kind of approachable.
Yeah.
Same exact word.
I mean, we have the same feeling about them.
Yeah.
I mean, even the UK, where they're putting out, like the 12-year and the 21-year portwood at 40%. I mean, it's amazing that you get that type of 47.8 risk that you get in that 12-year
with those sour notes and everything. I'll tell you what though, Mike, water.
Yeah, Glenallachie
made this Glenallachie a little more.
It improved the smell.
Yeah, it integrated it instead of having that oak like up front with bitterness and then like some sherry. Now it's kind of all there, kind of together. A lot of baking spice.
Yeah, very approachable, and I completely agree with you.
Approachable. Now I'm getting more like cinnamon baking spice, and it's less oak tannin bitterness.
Yeah,
which
it's coming right into Christmas time.
Really, and it's not the sweetness of Balvenie. It's much drier, a little astringent, but
A little rubber.
Yeah, a little bit of burnt, something like
Tire,
matchstick or something.
Like that, yeah. I'm gonna go as far as burnt matchstick. There's some type of rubber into it.
Again, yeah, you're right. It's probably a little too far, but well, I don't know. Like maybe like those little matchsticks, in your bathroom, you light to subdue the smells. A little bit of smoke.
Made it a little thin on the palate. It only started out at 46%, but there's that earthy note's still there, and it's chewy. You know what I mean? It's a backbone of this whiskey for sure.
Chestnuts, maybe.
Yeah, something peanut shell.
Yeah, but not peanut. But like,
I agree, shell.
Yeah,
something drier, less distinctive as far as flavor.
I'm getting a little bit more of the malt now, and it's a very generic, very clean, simple malt.
Yeah,
nothing.
like Kalila or something very, very malleable. You can mix it with almost anything.
Kalila's not a bad descriptor, actually.
As far as the malt.
Yeah. Clean, simple, sugarcane.
Malleable.
Easygoing. I still think the sherry casks are just not exceptional. Yeah, I mean, this has gotten so much hype that I don't want to be like the contrarian who goes like ultra far against it.
I mean, it's good whiskey.
Yeah, and so that's why I'm like pausing because I want to be like more negative here. But the thing is, if you didn't tell me how hyped this was, I'd be saying some really nice things if you told me this is a $100 bottle. I think it is a really nice sherried $100 bottle, but.
See, that's why when Keith gave this to do, I'm like, I don't really dip into this, my toes in this type of water anymore. 15-year-old, 46% sherry cask whiskeys, readily available stuff. That's why I wanted to do a comparison, like with something. And we were talking this or Tamdu 15, just something that we had around. But, we liked the Balvenie best of all of like that Tamdu, other 15-year-olds, in Glendronach 15-year-old style whiskeys. But at least it set my expectation on what it should be.
Yeah.
Because I think if I'd have had this by itself, I'm like, well, there's a lot of things to like. It's a little earthy, some of the things that I dislike. But when you compare it next to a whiskey that stood the test of time for some amount of years, it kind of puts it in perspective. I mean, I think both of us are going to say the same thing. I prefer the Balvenie over this whiskey. I think this Glenallachie is interesting. I mean, I don't know if I was at a bar, though, I would ever turn down the Balvenie for this whiskey.
Yeah, there's having had them both, and I mean, let's see if water did something terrible to the Balvenie, but
it didn't. I've had this whiskey many times.
Yeah,
it made it better. Yeah,
it smells just beautiful.
Yeah, it's beautiful sherry whiskey. Great cask, great distillate.
And I think
this is why Balvenie is a popular whiskey. I think sometimes And I do it myself too. I have
honeycomb just came through big time.
nice.
Water.
I think sometimes I always have like, what's next? What's new? Oh, okay, maybe someone's going to revive this story. Maybe it will. I don't know.
Yeah.
But just because it's a mass-produced whiskey,
Yeah.
doesn't mean any quality.
Yeah, and I think there's been this weird push to like, I'm only buying the Balvenie if it's super dark and all this other stuff. And admittedly, we do tend to gravitate towards a little bit darker bottles. But I'll tell you what, Mike, I haven't seen a lot of Balvenie single cask sherries that are light. They're all pretty dark.
Some are lighter than others. And some people you say you could tell they either buy 650 or 800 on the label. I don't know. It seems like every one that says 800 has been super dark. Some of the 650s have been lighter.
Yeah.
But again, I don't know what you can really glean from that information.
Yeah, but
Balvenie doesn't tell you for sure.
This is a bottle I'm going to keep buying, Mike.
Yeah, for sure. I have full bottles in my collection right now. I don't know if I'd buy them for $100.
I'm just not going to buy this whiskey.
No.
That said, I'm excited to see what Glenallachie does.
Mm-hmm.
Their 25-year-old is still a very well-priced whiskey.
I'll try more.
I'm interested to find out how that comes out.
Mm-hmm.
They've got an 18 that I'm
I'll try
interested
more.
in seeing. But the 15, not one I'm going to pick up again. I'm not going to buy a 12. And I may grab a 10 cask strength when one of like the batch 5, 6s show up here in the States, which might be 3-4 years because I just saw batch 2 show up.
Having said that, though, I mean, 15-year-old non-cask strength sherry whiskeys is not something I really go to a lot. The only whiskey I have is the Balvenie.
Because this is exceptional
Quality.
for the price point. This, I think you're getting a good price at about $100. If it's under 150, you're not getting a bad whiskey. It's quality, it's well made, but it's not. This is great. This is
okay whiskey.
Yeah.
No, it's nice whiskey.
Yeah, and again, I mean, if you want something different, I get it. But honestly, I mean, if you're a sherry lover and you're not buying these on a regular basis and you're on a budget, this is in your budget,
Yeah.
I don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely a go-to. Don't think it's because there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
It's anything but fantastic.
Like this to me is like a whiskey that us whiskey geeks forget that we need to keep in our collection because this is consistently really good. And this, I think this is fine whiskey, but
it's a nice first try. I think it'll get better as time goes along.
I really hope that's the case.
I agree. All right, so that's where we're at. As far as these two whiskeys, we both prefer the Balvenie. We're not doing whiskey scores on this tonight, just if someone was buying a drink at the bar.
Yep.
Definitely taking this Balvenie. Dustin, what do we wish folks till next time?
Happy drinking.
We'll see you then.